a delay. So stop your waiting.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. Cannot believe it. This is episode 70, and today is, today is September 21st. This is the last day of astronomical summer. I'm Fox 12 meteorologist Jeff Orgeron, joined by Camilla Ortiz. Hey Camilla.
Hello everybody.
Joined by meteorologist Katie Suniga. Hey Katie.
Hello everyone.
And we have our chief meteorologist, Mark Nelson, in the Fox 12 studio somewhere. Hey, Mark.
Hey, good to see you all together again. It's like family.
It's been a while since we've all four been together.
It has.
Yeah, we're back to the Brady Bunch boxes right here. Yeah, and guys, it's been a really nice week. We've had minimal amounts of rainfall west of the Cascades. Kind of an uneventful week weather-wise. Lots of 70s. We're going to kind of go through how September has played out so far. Man, I think the big story, though, and something that we're really going to be focused on in this podcast is the pattern change coming, like a dramatic pattern change heading into the weekend and early next week. Any initial thoughts, guys? I actually know what's going through Camilla's mind right now because she shot me a text message about this yesterday about that. Camilla, share what you're thinking.
I have all these long rides planned really just for the next 3 weeks before, shipping out
That's right.
for the Ironman. Yeah. So it's just like kind of like the next 3 weekends are really key for long rides. And I'm just looking at the forecast and going, I might be doing those 4 or 5 hour rides in my garage, which is not very much fun.
Oh.
Yeah. But, it is what it is. We've gotten so much nice weather. I feel like so far I've ridden outside so much, so I really can't complain. So We'll deal with whatever comes.
There you go. Yeah, maybe hang some inspirational pictures in the garage. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? It's when I catch up on my trash TV, actually. So it's not all that.
Yeah. Good.
I don't really know what that is, but I think it's self-explanatory. So
I mean, yeah, just like think of dumb whatever. It's all subjective. But have you heard of Selling Sunset?
Oh, my husband watches that.
I mean, I like it because there's the real estate component, but of course then there's all the drama and the fights and so you're just like, this is so dumb. But I only watch it when I'm on my bike.
Okay, well, we know where Camilla's mind is right now.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, we're gonna go over kind of what's to come. The weather term of the week actually ties in pretty nicely, and I'm just gonna we're not gonna build it up like Mark did last week with the drizzle. By the way,
yeah, that was a fail.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about atmospheric rivers. Actually, quite the opposite of drizzle. I didn't mean to do that on purpose, but and let's see. We actually have a nice list. I like how Mark has created this nice episode forecast, if you will.
An outline, a little outline to keep us on track so we don't so the train doesn't go off the tracks and there's a big crash. We don't like that.
Right.
We still go off the tracks. This just helps us get back on quicker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to look at a list of the wettest Septembers on record. It has not been very wet this September, but it is going to be wet. So we're going to see, how much we need to record in order to maybe crack the top 10 wettest Septembers on record at PDX. And then we'll talk about what this could mean for fire season. Could it be the end? I see an RIP on the graphic. That's all right. It's kind of like when Mark pulls out the big fork. By the way, I saw that in the corner of the studio. A few people were pointing like, what is that? Some new people were like, what is that big fork? And I was like, you'll find out eventually.
He didn't do it this year. I was looking forward to it because it's my first year to be there when he did it. All I've ever done is seen it, and he decided not to do it this year.
It has to be the right setup in late winter and early spring. Otherwise, if you use the fork all the time, then it's not a special event. So this next late winter, it's going to be a special event, I'm sure.
That is not the reason, Mark, why that is. I think you were dealing with a little trauma from 2022 when we had that snow in in April. Remember that? The latest snow on record?
April snow isn't real snow. It's spring snow. That's different. Winter was still over. We'd already hit 70, so yeah.
All right.
Wow, we went way back into the archives for that one, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, I got to call you out when I have the chance. So
that's good.
So Mark's
and don't forget,
burned by the fork.
Right. Notice the last thing on that little outline, to my left or is it to my right? Fall begins. We're gonna debate. We're gonna have the big debate maybe, or discuss the fall, summer, all that stuff, if we have time. Hopefully we'll have time. Well, since we said we're going to talk about it, we're going to make time.
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, I just realized that there's a sharing feature on this podcast, and mine is in the gray, which means I can't share things right now. Oh, that's because Mark was sharing that. That's why. Okay, I was having a little internal panic moment there. Okay, well, solved.
You're in charge now, Jeff. I've given you control.
Yeah,
that was control.
That scared me a little bit. But yeah, I want to go over how September has played out so far. Again, fairly uneventful, but we're gonna kind of dive into the details here. I'm just gonna start off by saying rainfall has been fairly abysmal. 0.03 of an inch is all we've recorded in the bucket at PDX, and that was back on September 3rd. Hopefully, you guys are seeing the screen that I'm sharing right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm putting my cursor. And by the way, thanks to everybody that joins us for the podcast through video format. If you're not able to see that, you're listening maybe in the car, we'll do our best to describe what we're showing you here. So if you can see my cursor, PCPN represents precipitation. Back on September 3rd here, we recorded a whole 0.03 of an inch of rain. The last 3 days, we've had minor amounts of rain, like a trace, but that doesn't necessarily count. So I guess the main focus has been on the temperatures so far this month. We had a few hot days. Back on September 2nd, we hit 91. We had a couple of 90s back on the 14th and 15th. But other than that, we've seen 60s, 70s, and 80s. So when you average the highs and lows together, we're running about 2.3, I think it was the calculation, 2.3 degrees above a typical September through the first 20 days. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing that. Kind of do a little discussion here about, it's been a little bit on the warm side at times, but all in all, it's been pretty nice out there.
I saw a meme out there today that said, this is the type of weather where you put a sweatshirt on in the morning and you turn the heater on, then you take the sweatshirt off and you open the windows up, and then you put the sweatshirt back on and you close the windows and turn the heater back on.
Look at the lows this morning. Everybody was in the 40s.
Yeah,
it was chilly. And it's kind of like that time of year where you're trying to save as much energy in your home as possible. Like, maybe I'll just hold off on running the heater because we know it's going to get warm this afternoon. And then, sometimes borderline AC kind of afternoons. But this morning, when I woke up while you guys were fast asleep, it was definitely chilly out there. Okay, this is a great graphic here. The last 2 weeks, overnight lows. So this was the coolest morning. Mark, did you say since early June? Did I hear?
I think it was June 1st, right during Rose Festival. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was a 47 that day as well. And then there was a 41 in May. So we kind of forget in spring when it's warm, we kind of forget we still get some pretty chilly nights, but we're so used to it. It's like, what's a 40-degree night, in the spring, because we just had 20 and 30-degree nights. So, pretty chilly night.
I will say, though, I was surprised at how quickly it still warms up quickly. I stepped outside. I did a bike ride late morning or right around noon, and I was like, oh, I was expecting to be cold and, needing a long sleeve, but I was like, no, it feels great out here,
I think we had, I think Tillamook briefly dropped into the upper 30s. Elsewhere on the coast, it was in the 40s. Because that weather system is still spinning over Eastern Oregon, we had a mixed bag. It was like anything from the 30s around Burns all the way to, I think, the 50s and 60s up in the Columbia River Basin. So Mark's bringing up
rain. The rain numbers in Eastern Oregon today are huge.
I haven't looked at those yet.
Oh, nice. Here we go.
Sorry. I cannot zoom in. Oh, yeah, I can. No, I can't.
It's okay. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Look at some of those. Around Pendleton. Pendleton's a very dry place. 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. Blue Mountains, 3/4 of an inch. Wallowa Lake, an inch. These are all since, I think it's since midnight. Oh, no, they're 24-hour totals. But it started yesterday evening. So we're getting some good wraparound moisture.
That's what I say. This is that system we were looking at I was with you on Tuesday that we were talking about Thursday morning. It was just going to right around. Did you see anything for Central Oregon? Did you see any numbers for that?
It kind of petered out. Sorry, my chart didn't take me that far west, but it kind of petered out once you get to about Bend. Or actually, it's arriving there today, this afternoon and tonight. So as we speak, it's clouding up and turning wet. So good soaking. Fire season's not going to get started over there again. what was that, 2 weeks ago? Was that when Hillary came through far eastern Oregon? So this is our second soaking of September. So those will be some actually pretty big rainfall numbers for September, I think.
I'm going to go off the rails a little bit here.
Uh-oh.
Because you just brought up Hillary. Everybody remembers what happened with hurricane/tropical storm Hillary, mainly impacted Southern California and the desert Southwest. My mother reached out to me today. She's in the Palm Springs area, guys. They're having major air quality issues down there because there was so much flooding that occurred in the Coachella Valley that all the mud that spread out around communities and roads and whatnot now has turned into like fine sand, and the wind is picking it up every day and putting it into the air.
Wow.
It's this really unusual side effect from heavy rain that nobody saw coming, but they're having pretty bad air quality issues down in the Coachella Valley, where I know a lot of people that listen to the podcast visit during our wet season. So unusual. Sorry to kind of switch subject there. I just wanted to.
Interesting. Yeah.
No, that's good.
Wow.
That's interesting stuff. So look what the temperatures have done today. Those are 3 o'clock temperatures. Mid-afternoon in Bend is 46 degrees as the showers have arrived. 40s, 50s. Jeff, I'm back to for this one I had to go back to the summer color table to make it blue east of the Cascades.
So a little backstory here. I sent Mark a text. I think, what was it yesterday? Was it this morning?
Yeah.
I'm losing track of time.
Yeah, this morning. Yeah.
We can change the color scheme on these maps to reflect like summertime, fall, spring, or winter.
Right.
And I noticed that somebody kept switching it back to summer mode. And I would get up in the morning. And the graphic was just like blue and purple. It was like in the 50s. And I'm like, yeah, it's chilly, but it doesn't represent like bone chilling temperatures. And that was because we were switching it back to summer mode, which that would be cold for summer. But yeah, Mark and I are battling it out right now. Battle Royale with the graphics.
You know what? It's not us. It's the big diurnal changes day to night that we see in the spring,
right?
And more so in the fall, actually. And so it's like, I don't want my 70s to be like death red. Because if there's some 80s on there at 5 p.m., it's going to be like a pink color. But then, of course, that would make you blue in the mornings. So that's fine. We can change it back and forth. Although I guess it's going to stabilize this coming week, so everybody should be happy about that.
Camilla, Katie, you guys know I get worried when I change a graphic back like twice after it's been changed twice, and I'm like, please, Mark, just don't get mad at me.
That means there's a fight brewing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll send a memo out about that if there's an issue. CC
one more.
To the boss.
I'm going to mention really quick. We got a little dusting or a little quick snow up on Mount Hood yesterday morning. It was exciting stuff. I was trying to stay calm on Good Day, Oregon. It was at about 6,500 feet. We could see it from the Palmer Cam above Timberline. Didn't quite make it down to Timberline Lodge. I was like, keeping my fingers crossed for that. Katie, I want to get into when we typically see our last 90-degree day, 80-degree day, 70-degree day, because if anybody has been looking at our 7-day forecast, they obviously see that we're going to be ending the week on a warm note, with temperatures, around 80 degrees in our western valleys. So I thought this would be a good time to maybe bring up, when I am doing that right now for you. So, so the graphic that you're looking at, Katie, I'm going to try to highlight it while you explain, is exactly that.
That's a lot of numbers, folks.
Yeah, I know. Well, we have one in the computer that Mark and I just updated the other day, and I have it here. I'll read off of it. So, where did that go? I have my notes. Okay, so the one I have here says that so we're looking at the last 90-degree day is typically, do we have September 5th? Is that what you have on there?
On average, yep.
Yep, there it is, September 5th. And then if you head over to the last 80-degree day, September 28th.
Yep.
Should be what we have there. Yep. And then I believe that October 17th there.
Nice.
That
3 out of 3.
Our last 70. Yep. There we go. So those are all of our last days that we hit those.
On average, yeah.
On average, yes, on average. And we have those two graphics. So we have the one that shows the record last days and then the average last days. So I've been kind of using that because, when you look at the fact that we have an 80-degree day tomorrow, and what is that, the 22nd? So the average last one isn't for another week. So
Right.
if you think about it like that, it's really not uncommon for us to stay at an 80-degree temperature at least through the end of September.
There you go. And I think it's interesting looking at like the record latest. Like
It
we
wasn't in
have
October
yeah,
for like 90 or something.
you're
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
October
I was just a
5th,
young buck then.
1980. Yeah, Mark
1980.
Mark, were you working in some kind of like I always feel like Mark has like a story. Like I was working in some kind of like sugar factory or something.
Yeah.
I was.
Picking strawberries.
I do remember a 100-degree day, like it was in 1980 or 1981, sometime in September. But I don't remember that 1980. I guess, what was I in 6th grade?
Wait,
Yeah.
would this have been before or after your pigeon championship trophy?
That was before. I was just ramping up in the pigeon category.
Okay. Yeah. So for a little bit of background, we had a weather barbecue not too long ago at Katie's. It was lovely. And we heard this story that Mark, did you raise pigeons? He said he had a championship trophy for his pigeon. And we were like, hold on a minute. Can we unpack this? What? Talk to us about that.
I still have
Mark.
a trophy. I think it's up in the attic. I got grand champion pigeon at the Southwest Washington Youth Fair up in Chehalis, Centralia, Chehalis. And so it's just, you bring your bird and you raise it, and it has to have the nice little form here, Like if this was, here's somebody's Pepsi bottle, it's like got to have the right chest and the tail needs to go just right. And I guess my bird was good looking.
It's not like a pumpkin. They're not like seeing how like big they get or anything like that.
Well, yeah, but I think they're birds. I don't know. I wasn't that deep into it. I was just a kid, okay? Just a lonely,
Oh, come on.
guy.
You know you were into it.
Sure.
Don't act like you
Well,
weren't,
no, I
Mark.
mean, I didn't like get into heavy breeding and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, this bird looks okay. Let's enter it in the youth fair. And so I got this.
And then you won.
You guys, the funniest thing, forget the story. The funniest thing is I have this trophy. You know how trophies look. And it's got this shiny gold pigeon at the top, like this perfect looking pigeon, all shiny. And I still have it somewhere. I'm going to have to bring it in someday.
Yeah,
It's
we
like-
need to see this.
Hard to believe, but I was kind of a nerd.
Oh.
Shocking.
Wait.
Honestly shocked.
Were these carrier pigeons by chance?
They're called homing pigeons.
Homing.
Yeah. Carrier pigeons are like, what is it? Ancient Greece? No. they're
Snow
called
White,
homing
she
pigeons.
used to use them to carry her messages.
Oh, she did.
Yes.
They're legit, by the way. They are the real
Yeah.
deal. Yeah.
They can travel
Okay.
hundreds of miles. Okay, this is what we're way off course.
Anyway,
I know.
no, thank you
I
for
just-
indulging
tiny
me. It was
little
my favorite thing.
You guys know we used to do weddings. We had the dove reliefs, the doves that would come back,
Right.
and it came back and was circling the crowd, and everybody was screaming because the pigeon the dove kept coming in and diving and diving. And he was trying to get back to his cage, and they had to run.
I would scream
but
too.
Wait, people were like they want that for their weddings?
Yes,
Yeah,
I've
people
seen
did
that.
it. Yes, they did the dove release at the end where after they said their
Wow.
vows, they each held the dove and let it go. And then the doves flew off and then they came back and started swooping in the wedding. It was actually over in Gearhart. It was so funny. And the guy with the pigeons had to run with the cage because they were trying to go home too soon.
The train is now in Canada.
I love it.
Folks.
I love it.
We are out of here. Okay, let's circle on back to Oregon
Okay.
in the Pacific
So
Northwest.
temperatures.
Let's pretend we're a homing pigeon and we're gonna bring it back home. All right.
Very
There
nice.
we go. Nice. Good segue. I threw the 7-day forecast up just because you were talking about what's the chance of 80 again here in the next week. That's not going to happen.
Nope.
I mean, if you're listening to this on Friday, you already know. Tomorrow's Friday. It would be today if you're listening tomorrow. But we're talking about Friday. But today here is Thursday. Got that? So the point is you need to enjoy Friday. I don't care what day you're on, what level of existence you're on, what your truth is. Friday's going to be the last warm day for a while.
Yeah. So, and we're looking at a pretty juicy system, I will say.
Wow.
Late, and by the way, I haven't used that in a while. It feels good.
Yeah.
Late.
Well, Jeff, I was gonna say with the snow up above timberline and the atmospheric river. I mean, were you doing breathing exercises back here?
Jeff.
You're right. Yeah, I was. A lot of yoga and long walks in the park, and just trying to stay calm and collected. We have some pretty intense days coming in the weather center, at least for one individual. So let's talk about the forecast. We're going to talk about the weather term of the week, which is atmospheric river, because I think it's important to bring those weather terms into like what is actually playing out in the forecast. It just makes more sense to people. Maybe it'll lock in a little bit easier. Mark was saying that he has some pretty sweet upper level weather graphics queued up. Am I wrong or Oh, maybe.
No,
I
I
thought
only, you know what I have? I have the 7-day rain totals from
Okay.
a couple models. That's what I have. So I'll get
Okay.
to that in a minute. You have
Okay.
something else, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's, first of all, we'll just briefly describe that the weather system that's coming in, it's going to be a pretty impressive upper level trough that's going to form over the Pacific Ocean offshore of the Pacific Northwest. It'll send a shortwave through. It looks like it'll bring some scattered showers probably by around sunrise Saturday morning. So if you're listening today or Friday and you live on the coast, things are going to start to turn wet by Saturday morning. And then eventually by late morning, midday is when those showers will spread inland. So lunchtime or so for the I-5 corridor. As of the latest models, it could change by an hour or so.
Yeah, I think there's a little debate on the models. Some have it, some like the GFS is just slamming it all in pretty quick. I noticed the European and the Canadian models a little bit slower. But
Okay.
regardless, we just called it afternoon showers.
To be safe, get everything you need to get done Friday. Like cover
Right.
up patio furniture. If you can get on a ladder and clear out the gutters, obviously have somebody holding the ladder with you to be safe. And
Safety
You're
first.
obsessed with
Yeah.
clearing out those gutters. My
Yeah.
goodness.
How many times a year do you clear out your gutters, Jeff?
You don't
I do
even
it
want
like
to.
once.
You don't even want to know what kind of tree. I have this monster tree next door that has barely started dropping leaves. So it's like every week I've got to get up there and clear these guys out.
Oh,
So
no.
I've got a chainsaw. I could come and take care of that for you.
it's a historic tree. So they have like a plaque on it and you cannot touch it.
Oh.
Yeah. It will be
Can't
there
even
forever.
prune it?
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know what the rules are with pruning actually, Katie. I'll have to get
Ooh,
back
it's
to you
got a
on that.
plaque. That would scare me from touching
Pruning
it.
is healthy for a tree, so you might want to prune it a little.
I think it can be pruned, but it has phases, man. I'll tell you, it is a moody tree. So yeah, get what you need to get done. Gutters are not, folks, by late Friday. You guys are clearly there were some discussions behind the scenes about that. I'm never saying gutters again. All right.
No, we've never discussed it.
Yeah, right. All right. Okay, so Saturday into Sunday, I think we'll have a few more showers probably lingering into Sunday, but it looks like the really wet stuff, the steady, heavier rain will hold off until late Sunday and Monday. So that brings up atmospheric river. An atmospheric river is like a narrow corridor of moist air that gets pointed at like a specific region of the United States. We often see them on the West Coast. They happen all over the world. There are specific types. We've talked about this on a previous podcast, probably a year or two ago. There's one that many people are familiar with, the Pineapple Express, and that's one that originates from near Hawaii. That's why it gets the name Pineapple Express. But you can have an atmospheric river that flows in from north of Hawaii to the West Coast, or you could have one that affects South America. So they occur in various regions around the world. But what they do is they enhance rainfall rates. So they bring a lot of rain in a short period of time. For the West Coast, they tend to originate from a warmer part of the Pacific Ocean. So we often see higher snow levels initially. That's exactly what we're expecting with this initially, is snow levels should be 8,000 feet or higher. I think if you're hoping for like an early season pounding of snow at the ski resorts, probably not going to happen. So don't get your hopes up. It'll drop a little bit by Tuesday or so. But I'm going to pull up a graphic here. There's actually a category system for atmospheric rivers. So think about like a tornado. You have the enhanced Fujita scale, EF0 to EF5. And you also have the Saffir-Simpson scale, categorizing hurricanes. So we're not categorizing based off of wind speed and damage. We're categorizing based off of duration of the event, how long the event will go, and how much moisture will be transported. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here. Let's see.
And we should while you're doing that, Jeff, we should point out that I've had people say, "Is this a new term? Why do you talk about atmospheric rivers all the time?" It's not really a new term, although it's only, I think, about 25 years old. And an atmospheric river, they can be very weak, as Jeff is going to point out here. And in fact, they're relatively common. I think there was something like, do you remember this number last spring? Something like 67 on the Oregon and Washington coast last cool season. So basically, the way they're categorized, most weather systems moving onto the coast of any significance involve an atmospheric river.
And usually we don't even mention them if they're on the like category 1 or 2 scale.
Right.
So category 1 would just be kind of like a steady light rain. A category 2 would be beneficial, but can be hazardous. And I would say If we've had a lot of rain, we have snow melting, and then we get a Category 2 atmospheric river, then yeah, it could lead to higher rivers and maybe a little bit of a debris flow. Cat 3 to Cat 5 is when things get a bit more interesting. Category 3 brings a balance of beneficial rainfall, but can be hazardous, could bring debris flows to burn scars from recent wildfires. Category 5 is when it becomes a bit more hazardous, especially if we've had a lot of rainfall recently or a lot of melting snow. Now, interestingly enough, guys, let me know if you're seeing what I'm sharing here. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, that was the category scale. I'm going to bring up the atmospheric river forecast for the West Coast. Sorry, it's a little bit slow here, so maybe.
Yeah, but we look great, don't we?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
We all look good. I didn't put makeup on. I'm sorry, folks. I don't have my suit on ready. We don't have a show till 6, our digital show, because we have baseball.
Ooh.
All right, so I'm bringing up the forecast here. So this is a product that is put out by the Scripps Institute down in San Diego. Oceanography, they do great atmospheric work. And so check this out, or research rather.
Oh, look at that.
They actually upgraded this. So when I sent out the graphics to you guys earlier via email, we had a lot of yellow on the graphic, a lot of atmospheric river 3 expectations, but we're seeing a lot of orange now, atmospheric river 4, which would kind of tip the scale toward more of a hazardous event if it had been really wet recently. But guys, we haven't had that much rain. The river levels are really low. Stream levels are really low. Don't have much snow to melt. So would you agree with me if I said, even though this is maybe going to be an AR4, an atmospheric river category 4, probably won't pose too many dangers or hazards?
No. And in fact, right over that red spot, the one spot on the Southwest Oregon coastline, that's where one of 2 significant fires are burning near Port Orford. So that's perfect. It's going to mostly put out that fire, just reduce it to a smoldering wet heap, I suppose. So that's actually really good. That's perfect placement and perfect timing.
Well, I'm curious though. So in my understanding, and this is where I want to make sure I'm thinking about this right. We haven't had much. So if we all of a sudden get a huge, amount of rain, doesn't that pose a little threat because of the fact that the ground isn't saturated?
I think that might be
a
desert climate. I think that's in desert climate. It's a different kind of soil.
More of a desert, so I'm thinking more Central Oregon.
It's a good point. So
a different soil.
That makes sense.
Our environment does do a really good job absorbing that moisture. And I think the National Weather Service has done a good job highlighting that if we do get heavy rain over an extended period of time, which is possible, on some of the local fires and burn scars. So let's think about some of the fires burning in the Central Oregon Cascades, Lookout Fire, I'm losing track on all the fire names.
So many.
Big Pete, it's Pete's Lake.
Pete's Lake.
Pete's Lake, west of the Three
Camp
Sisters.
Creek.
Yep. Camp Creek.
Yep. And you know what? This also includes burn scars from previous years as well. I would say it's probably fair to say the past couple of years, any kind of big burn scars in the Cascades or Coast Range, which I don't think we have too many big ones in the Coast Range to be worried about. But Katie, to answer your question, if I was in a community that is near a big burn scar, then sure, we would probably raise more awareness about it. But this is probably going to be a really beneficial event, and frankly, is going to put fire season. I'm going to revert back to Mark's RIP to fire season. I think that's a good way of describing how this might end up afterwards. So,
Whoops, there we go. Yeah, RIP. There we go. I was going to show, you saw it here for a second. And the other thing is, it's not that much rain. It's not like we're getting 5 or 10 inches of rain in the mountains.
Right.
This is the European ensemble, the average. This is 1 week ending next Saturday. So it'll be ending the last day of September, next Saturday the 30th, right? You got 1 to 2 inches in the valleys, 2 to maybe 4 inches in the mountains. So this is all beneficial. That goes into the woods. I mean, the first inch barely gets into the soil. And then, it takes a long time to really moisten things up. That's the European. I have the Canadian here. Notice the lower res on the Canadian. The new European with the 9-kilometer resolution is pretty good on those ensembles. I'm pretty excited about that. That's kind of the same, 1 to 2 inches in the valleys, maybe 2 to 3 inches in a few spots. But the big stuff is way up, Canadian, Vancouver Lake, and then up towards Whistler and Southwest BC, 4, 5, 6 inches of rain.
Vancouver Island. Yeah.
Vancouver Island, I should say.
And it looked like, I mean, really, it's just we're kind of adding a little bit each day. It's not like, I mean, Monday
Right.
looks pretty wet, but it seems like it's kind of just a steady accumulation, which would probably be
good,
less
yeah.
stressful, I imagine, for the environment.
Yeah,
It
I'm
does
just-
look dramatic. Yeah.
And I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about like when, I'm sure you'll remember this one, Mark, May, I think it was May, was it 2020, where we had that thunderstorm that came through Bend and everybody started like screaming the Wicked Witch is coming because it was green. The sky was completely green and it just absolutely dropped on us. And everybody thought that, you know, there were tornadoes coming and all that kind of stuff. And it just dumped so hard for like 20 minutes. And all the streets and everything was just absolutely soaked because the ground is so dry, you know, there that it just went right over and our streets were flooding and storm drains, you know, were, you know, 6 inches to a foot bubbling out because they couldn't handle 20 minutes of that hard rain that came through. So that's what I'm just thinking about. And we're not getting it, you know, it's just a different environment here than over there.
And we should emphasize, yes, day over day, day by day, we'll just slowly add up the rainfall next week. But there may be heavy showers or thunder showers, like after a system goes through a little cooler air. So we make it into a setup where we have thunder showers, and it's still pretty warm air mass, warm season technically. So we could get some good downpours at times, but they'd be spotty next week. Look at the European ensemble average high temp.
I noticed that this morning.
That is really cool. I mean, this says well below average. So all of next week.
Yeah.
And then I noticed some of the other models have kind of a warming. Maybe we kind of pull out of it and we get some ridging. Actually, the Euro has it too. You just don't see it on the temps too much here. But as we go into that first week of October, there are hints that the cold upper level trough fades away, and we're back to pretty reasonable October weather. So this may just be like a 7 to 10 day thing. That's what I'm thinking.
Really quick, Mark, can you bring back up the rainfall, like the map? So right now we're getting that weather system over Eastern Oregon. It's bringing a lot of rain to the Blue Mountains, for instance. So this weather system is coming in from the west, coming in from the Pacific Ocean, and atmospheric rivers tend to be kind of like in the mid levels of the atmosphere. A lot of the moisture gets concentrated there, and a lot of it washes out. I mean, this is a classic example of a rain shadow effect, where we see a dramatic difference between rainfall totals along and west of the Cascades versus east of the Cascades. A lot of that moisture gets wrung out in the Cascades and then doesn't make it east of the Cascades. So we're not going to be, even though Eastern Oregon has been the big winner midweek in terms of the rainfall, not going to be the case as we head into the weekend and early next week. Very normal stuff, though.
I should point out on this graphic too, all the heavier rain you're seeing across Northeast Oregon. Most of that is this is total precip, which includes today's rain over there. So
there you go.
The yellow stuff is from today. So yeah, most east of the Cascades, maybe quarter, half inch if they get lucky, but that's going to be it over there at most.
Okay. So I think it's reasonable to say that this probably from like the weekend into midweek of next week, we could see 1 to 2 inches of rain, Western valleys, multi-inch rainfall totals are possible, coast range and Cascades, far less rainfall east of the Cascades. So that brings up the next subject, which is, we haven't had a lot of rainfall this month. We've had 0.03 of an inch of rain. Wonder what the wettest Septembers have been on record at PDX. I'm going to bring that up really quick, a list of those. And Camilla, I'm going to let you take it away because, you know, we have a little over a week left in the month. We could end up with quite a bit. Beyond midweek, there still looks like there's going to be some pretty decent rain chances coming through Northwest Oregon and Southwest Washington. So I pulled up the list here. Kamal, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting. We've had some very, very wet Septembers. And actually, before I go to this, I'll mention, last September, super dry. We got less than 1/3 of an inch of rain over the course of the month. But the previous 5 years before that were all wetter than average Septembers. In fact, in 2019 and in 2021, we got more than 3.5 inches of rain both those years. So, we'll see rainfall in September, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And in years past, besides last year, that's what's been happening. So if you take a look here, though, our wettest September on record, 2013, 5.6 inches of rain, would that be more typical of what month, Mark or Jeff?
That'd be like a winter month.
Yeah.
At PDX, 5 or 6 inches is a winter month.
Yeah,
November, December,
that's pretty amazing.
January. I remember that one. I think we had a westerly flow for that whole week. A lot of atmospheric river type stuff.
Oh.
Can I, Mark? I think it was in our El Nino discussion. I wonder what 2013 was. Do you know off the top of your head if that
It
was
was not El Nino. It was something.
because
It was either La Nina or nothing.
you know how sometimes
I'll
it
look.
seems like El Nino gets kind of front loads our precip to like the earlier parts of
Right.
the wet season, and then things get drier and less eventful toward the end of the. I just wonder if how many of these were El Nino years where we had like just a banging end to the month of
Sure.
September.
That'd
and
be
like
an interesting thing to look at actually with these years in the top 10.
So
Yeah.
2013 was not. It was weak La Nina or flat. What was another year? What was number 2? I don't have the years in front of me.
1986
Yeah.
right here.
Actually, that was a developing El Nino year. Yes. What's the next one?
Interesting. 1982.
Oh yeah, that was an El Nino year. That was a huge warm wet winter. 82, 83.
Camilla, you can take it away.
Give me more. Give me more, folks.
What
What do you
about,
have?
okay, so we could just go through the list. What about number 4, which was just under 4 inches of rain in September, 1945?
Oh, too far back. I don't have that number.
Throwing it way back. What about 1969? That's ranked number 5.
That was an El Nino year as well, although it was a fading El Nino. But yeah.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
So it is kind of a pattern. What about 2019? Did we talk about that yet? That's number 6.
We should know, but I don't remember.
I don't either.
That was the first year I was here, and
Neutral.
yeah, we were ending El Nino and going into neutral. Yeah,
It was La Nada.
La nada. I like that. But basically, it looks like if we wanted to crack into the top 10 here for September rainfall, we would need about 3.5 inches of rain, more than 3.53 technically.
it's gonna be
I don't
gonna
know.
be a stretch.
Yeah.
You know what though? With those downpours coming in Tuesday, Wednesday, those like kind of thunderstorm convective type of downpours, those can produce a lot of rain in a short period of time. So we'll see if it kind of moves over the right bucket.
Yeah, true.
So hopefully you guys kind of took something from this podcast, of course, with the dramatic shift to the weather pattern, but also atmospheric river. I think you're going to probably hear that term more than once during the wet season, perhaps more to the south than the north, because if you listen to our El Nino podcast, you know that history tells us that El Nino years tend to bring more precipitation to the southwestern United States versus the Pacific Northwest. So things may turn more active later this season down south, but we never know until it actually starts, panning out. Anything else you guys wanted to add to episode 70? It's a big one. It's a big episode.
Well, I hate to add more time, but maybe let's keep this to 2 minutes, okay? The fall and summer discussion.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So the fall equinox is tomorrow night, 11:50 p.m. Friday night. So that's on your calendar. What does it say? Fall begins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But does it
Well,
really?
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this. So
Go ahead.
We've been talking. Mark and I have been talking about this the last couple of days because we've had some funny comments about it. And I fell in the group of people that just always heard it said as the official start to fall. And so for me, I didn't think anything of it because that's what I'd always heard. But the way Mark explained it and it made so much more sense to me because you think about what time people, just different regions peak in temperatures and things like that. So there really isn't an official start for anybody because it's different. So he said he likes to use the word traditional. And I liked that. I like that a lot because I always say, well, if it officially starts for you, because I didn't know how to word it. So I like that, the traditional start being, the sun angles and stuff like that.
I think that's good. I always think it's weird. It's like, where did the word official ever come from? Who's declaring it at the beginning of the fall?
Some person on air who came up with it, some media.
Most likely, yeah.
Well, you would think if NOAA uses September 1st, shouldn't that technically be more official? I don't know.
For weather,
Yeah.
yes. But
Yeah.
astronomically, you could argue, okay, well, yeah, I just think it's weird. As I was bicycling today, I could feel the sun just didn't have the strength that it had, back in June and July. And it's just funny that it's like here we are at the sun is as strong right now as it is at spring break. But do we consider spring break the beginning of summer? That's kind of weird. I mean, so it's definitely not centered on the sun. It's not based on the highest part of if it was based on the sun, it should be centered on June 22nd. It should be a month and a half before that and a month and a half after that, right? So I just think it's kind of odd. I don't know how that ever all came about. I mean, one could argue it's when you put your first pair of pants on for you. That's your reality, right? So that's fall for me. Or for sometimes people say, oh, when I put my leggings on, I don't have leggings as far as I'm aware. But some people say, oh, when I put my leggings on, or when I get my first hot latte or something. Everybody has their own.
Katie's been drinking those hot PSLs for weeks now.
I've had 2 today.
Oh,
Wow.
I finished my second one just before.
can I just say,
Jeff.
I'm studying for my pilot exam, my private pilot exam. I went to Starbucks the other day to do some studying because I needed to get out of the house, and I bought a drink. I couldn't believe how much those things cost. Like, it was over $7. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I got a matcha. Matcha is kind of a new thing. So I was testing that out.
So fancy and bougie.
Not new for
That's
me,
not new.
Camilla. New for me. Okay, guys.
Okay, got it.
That's
My bad.
not new.
Yeah, to all the PSL crowd over here.
$7. I had no idea.
I'm resorting back to my Winco coffee forever. I just cannot do it.
Katie doesn't like that. I only go to those coffee places usually if I'm on vacation or it's like a weekend. I'm like, okay, once a month I'm going to go get a coffee. And then I'm like, my coffee at home was just as good. So,
yeah.
Did we just lose the endorsement of Starbucks? Are they a sponsor? We're dead.
they're not.
A sponsor.
Well, I will tell you.
Not yet.
Next Thursday is the last. Every Thursday this month, if you didn't know, they're doing a BOGO on fall drinks. So
Katie knows about all the deals. She's constantly sending me deals on apps.
yes, because it's worth
like-
it. So that's the only time I buy Starbucks is when I get a deal
like
because I'm with you, Jeff. It's way too expensive.
It's the equivalent to like the secret menu at In-N-Out. Like,
Hey, I used to
Katie
work
has-
at In-N-Out. I know the,
Oh my
the
gosh.
secret.
Wait, what?
Oh my Lord.
learning
We could
new
say that for
things.
another podcast. That sounds like a very interesting story, as they say.
Maybe we can talk about all of our first jobs. Because we know Mark was working
okay.
in some random factory in Chehalis.
That wasn't my
And
first job,
raising
but,
homing
you know.
pigeons at the same time.
Right.
For,
We're gonna have to
pretty
cover
accurate.
that.
Good. This is a good topic for next time for sure.
To be continued. Bum, bum, bum.
Yep. Well, as Mark said, and we continue to say on air, take advantage of this, today and tomorrow's last sunny day for quite a while because quite the pattern change is coming. Thanks for joining us for episode 70. By the way, guys, good to see you all again. And thanks for holding down the fort last week. Did a great job, except for the drizzle.
Okay?
You know, I'm still skeptical about that drizzle decision there, Mark.
But
yeah,
Jeff,
all the
were you
weather
impressed?
terms.
Yeah, were you impressed at how organized Mark was, though?
I was. Yeah, that
I
was
had my
like,
stuff together.
I saw that and I was like, oh boy, I've got to step up my game. And did I do that this week? No,
You
I did
did.
not.
Yes,
I
you
thought
did.
it was very
Yeah.
organized.
You did great.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
a team
thank-
effort.
thank
Team
you.
effort works too.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I appreciate it. But seriously, Mark, step up your drizzle game. Step it up.
Hello, we just had a marine layer drizzle. That's why I chose the word. It needs to be relevant to the current weather pattern.
I did say that a little while
today.
ago. You're right. Okay. Respect. Okay. Thanks to everybody for joining us for episode 70 of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. We'll be back next week to talk about, how much rain we've seen. And until then, have a great time out there in the rain or inside drinking your PSL. We'll talk to you soon.
Please tell us about the weather.